Farm work is in full swing, so you can enjoy this entirely unrelated Saints Row footage. I keep asking myself a question, day in, day out, long thinking over time. This isn't just something that randomly popped up. The question is, should the AAA industry die, and do I want it to die? The answer's yes and fuck yes. Thanks for watching! Obviously, it's not that easy of a set of questions, or we wouldn't be here. As with all questions on a philosophical scale of watching everything you hate burn like the French whore it is, before we can answer the first set of questions, we kind of have to answer some more. Question 1. Why is Joan of Arc a whore? The first question we have to think about is, does the AAA industry deserve to die? Well, yes. For everything great it once brought to the table, the big-name industries have become leeches of the worst kind. Parasites that slowly bleed us dry while providing the only nutrition we need to survive. Sure, it would be nice to get rid of that little blood-sucking fuckbag, but then we'd have to go hunting with the rest of the sharks. Every year, I think the big names have plumbed the lowest depths of humanity, and every year they reach deeper, and not even I want to know where this bottoms out. First, everything had to be a trilogy, and I mean fucking everything, even if its story didn't support sequels. Then Call of Duty made Modern Warfare, and everyone flipped their shit because apparently making compelling stories was no longer needed, and you could just churn out the same garbage endlessly and people would soak it up. Halo 3 had its end of a tale, then came a non-sequential title that looks back at earlier events, then comes that little voice that says you can just churn out endless sequels forever regardless of quality. Wait a minute, that sounds like another Microsoft property. So trilogies became endless sequels, and now, as with Call of Duty, we're just going back to the shit we did 10 years ago. But why? How is this a practice that is working? Well, we keep buying it, and I say we because even my judgment fails sometimes, and I'm known to be a part of the problem. I wanted a Thief 4 for a long time. Then when I got it, it was such a sad sack of shit that I started asking for one that was more like the originals. Sound familiar? And it only got worse from there. Endless drudgery of bland sequels were now being chopped up and sold piecemeal. You couldn't even buy the whole product for the asking price. And then it got worse. Not only now were you unable to buy the full product from a AAA dev, now they're shipping them more broken than Tara Reid. So yes, the AAA industry deserves to die as it's created a feedback loop of mediocrity that it itself feeds upon. Question 2. The next question is, who is to blame? Sure, I hold my fair share of the blame, but it's not a whom so much as it's a what. Probably the worst thing to happen to gaming was it going mainstream. Do keep in mind this isn't something that happened recently. One of the games that led the charge to the great game industry crash sold 7 million copies and was the worst possible version of that game. Don't let the one-man Aryan Brotherhood movie Bob tell you that gaming was small when he was a kid, or that the popularization of the hobby is somehow new. It's factually not. No, games were mainstream even back in the Atari days. That's kind of how the crash happened. Gaming blew up, budgets skyrocketed, quality tanked, and the consumers actually gave enough of a fuck to avoid buying. So what's changed? Well, the people. How many of you bought a game just because you knew your friends were moving to it and abandoning the one you're currently playing? How many of you stayed with games you'd lost any desire to play or ability to enjoy simply because it's what your friends were playing? Not me, I don't play many multiplayer games, and even then not with my friends for the most part. But anecdotally speaking, I've had several of my friends speak this way about games. I'm sure you've heard it too, especially with MMOs. The story is always the same. Well, this new game isn't as good, so I'll just go back to WoW with my friends, or, well, I gotta get the new COD because all my friends will grab it as well. I won't call you sheep, and I won't use the term sheeple. Gets a little too close to Movie Bob's Master Race talk for my liking. But it's like social smoking. You only started because your friends were doing it and only continue with your friends. Worst part of all, you can't stop. Whereas with smoking, you've got the addiction. With COD and WoW, you have no other way of connecting with your friends. We're all to blame in that way. I get suckered in by pretty promises from time to time. Others are stuck with it as a social crutch, and chances are high, most are just too stupid to care. Question 3. How many fish can she fit in her? The third question that has to be answered is, what happens if the AAA industry disappeared tomorrow? Well, a lot changes. Many times I've answered the basic questions, yes, I want it all to burn. It usually is about what you're willing to sacrifice, though. And what are you sacrificing? Well, I'm glad you had the audacity to open your mouth in my presence. A dirty little secret is that games are getting expensive due to pushing technological limitations on hardware demands. It's led to huge engine innovations, but in order to make those costs effective, they have to shovel crap down the throats of those willing to buy it. Visualize it this way. EA churns out god-awful sequels in order to keep making money so that in the event that their one risky endeavor per year goes tits up, they don't get their wallets stabbed. Is that a good thing? No. No, it's not. They butcher so much just to hand back next to nothing. We're not getting the good end of any of the sticks, even the ones they're supposed to be giving us the good end of if they want our fucking money. So the first thing that happens is technological advancement slows to a crawl. Second thing that happens, development gets hit even harder. Independent developers and B-list devs become the only guys putting out games, and Nintendo disappears entirely. That's right, the guys who pulled gaming out of its grave die too. Sure, I would like to give them a pass as I grew up with them, but every shitty practice in the industry is being committed by them. So we lose large swaths of our childhoods, and more inventive and well thought out games are pushed to the forefront, but they start coming out slower. So a short recap of how our questions are answered. Does the industry deserve to die? Yes, planned mediocrity and intentional stagnation have created the untenable situation that has continually gotten worse. Who is to blame for the state that the AAA gaming industry is in? All of us, players, consumers, developers, and publishers, we all have our failings big and small, and they combine to create this problem. What happens when it goes? Technology slows down, quality releases slow down, but quality releases also rise to the top better. So with those three answered, we come back to the start. Should the AAA industry die? Yes. With all the trade-offs, with all the loss, it would be a larger benefit to the community, the consumer, and the creators as a whole. Do I want it to die? Yes. I'm a whore for Nintendo products, but my best memories of them are far in the past. They haven't done anything new since using a tablet to control their console. Their new Super Mario Bros. Don't actually do anything new. Their attempt at updating Star Fox was a massive joke. The only risks they took in the last console generation were on a Pikmin clone, an online shooter, and buying someone else's IP. I could really live without them. So the final question is, how do we do it? We can't. Far too many people don't care enough about quality, far too many people do it just for the social aspects, and far too many people get tricked just often enough that it keeps the AAA industry at the top. Gaming is the largest entertainment industry in the world, and I don't think it's even possible for the big boys to be successfully kicked in the dick. It's all wishful thinking at this point, really. I'm the TheNecroswanson, and you can go fuck yourselves.